Happy New Year. Welcome everyone. First stream of 2023 and it's a midweek stream. I thought, why not? I'm not working today, or I'm not working in the morning. May as well. That's a bit bright. Hope everyone's well. Hope everyone's better than they were yesterday, at least. Yeah. As always, look, I'm not trying to provoke people with my videos, but I'm trying to stimulate a conversation and get people maybe to revisit some like concrete thinking that they think was carved in stone, and really see if they still believe it. And if you do, fine. Let me know if you can see and hear me properly. And remember, if you're here during the stream, during the stream, make sure if you would like to ask me a question during the live stream, if you're here live, put 3 brightly colored emojis, like 3 circles before your question to me, just so I know it's directed to me. Otherwise, feel free to chat amongst yourselves. As always, talking about the latest videos. This one just before the new year. Me trying to really get guys to rethink their axioms, especially ones that tend to become bigger and bigger anchors as you get older, and it's like a suit that doesn't fit. The saying amongst the manosphere that the only way to win is not to play. And I was just questioning, what do you win? If you're talking about, you know, lack of stress, or one kind of stress. You don't stress with women, you don't stress with relationships, all of that sort of stuff. You have less money stress because you're not wasting as much money. Yes, but what do you win? What's the other kind of stress that you do actually get? You win. A lot of guys win loneliness and depression and a lot of other things. So I just wanted to question, like, the saying seems glibly kind of perfect. You know, you don't play a game and then you win. Like, you can't actually play something you don't participate in. You may actually win something else, but the saying makes it out as though guys win the world. They win everything. It's a life hack with women. It's not. It's a life hack without women. It's outside of relationships. So I just wanted to question that sort of blind spot there that everyone thinks they're so clever at. You know, the only way not to get into a traffic accident is never to get into a car and never step outside of your house. And like, I win life. Yeah, you win a certain portion of life. So that's what I wanted to talk about. And today's, the topic for today's video, why can't she be direct, is tied in to the latest video. That was actually posed to me, I think it was last stream, and I saw it also in a DM, where guys mail me about very critical pieces of advice, and I appreciate it. But if you're asking me, you know what the answer is. You don't, like, I don't know anything about you. If I was able to sit down with you over time, know who you are, know your life, so on and so forth, which I'm not that person. I'm not a professional therapist. I don't have the time for that. I'm just a guy who's working out his own world and like publishing my video journal to you on YouTube for, if you want to think of it that way. But they kind of say, I'm about to marry her. Should I? I'm about to have kids. Should I? She wants to have kids. She wants to move in. Should I? What do you think? The question is posed from a point of view where I'm really scratching my head. If you should really know the answer to that. If you're asking me, this girl's pressuring me for blah, 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 that's different. But if the question is, should I make a critical, irreversible, probably decision in my life? I think you really need to question where you're at. And I think you're just asking me to give you the final nudge in what you want to do anyway. Let's be honest. And I was saying that in the video. And so the title of this stream follows on from this last video, whereby I pose a question, why can't women be direct and be honest? Because you're trying to, in the last video, I was trying to say that I wasn't trying to say, I was saying that you're trying to work out a problem, a disagreement, and you're trying to make sense of it. And I appreciate that women get emotional. They can't spit out the words. Their emotions, pile on in front of their prefrontal cortex. And it's very hard to nail them down to reason so that both of you can work something out. Not that you can win, not that you can be right, or that she can be emotionally right by wearing you down by crying and just, being emotional and playing musical chairs, but using some sort of consensus where you can work out the problem. And if they can't, they throw a tantrum like a child, or they hold their breath, or they walk away. And when they come back, they avoid the issue. They just don't want to face guilt or responsibility. Remember, guys, if you want to ask me a question, put a bunch of 3 brightly colored circles before your question. In terms of the question of this video, why can't a woman be direct? Quasimandias actually posed a really good one. He said, she can't be direct because if she was, she would lose deniability and then be responsible for the request. This is actually what I was thinking too. And I posed this in a poll last night as I published the upcoming stream. I wanted to get people's thoughts. And it was, why is it so hard for women to be direct in relationships? They talk about men being bad communicators, but women are awful. It's like many things, they say, oh, women are great communicators. No, you just talk more than we do. Women aren't direct, but they say they're like, I want a guy who's honest. It's because women aren't honest. They want something they don't have. And the answers or the poll outcome was generally what I thought. I actually think, and there are some varied comments, people had different ideas as to why women aren't direct in relationships. But I mainly think it's because there's no plausible deniability, and their excuse for it, their word salad or their brain salad for it, to justify how they feel or what they're wanting to avoid, is to say, oh, it's boring. I know when I was going on dates, and I remember when I would discuss and be curious and ask questions about, what was your last relationship like, or what don't you like in guys? And as soon as they heard questions, it's very apparent to know when you first meet a woman, when you're dating, they don't want to be put on the spot. They do not like questions. It's like kryptonite to them, because especially if you're not joking around, or you might be able to find out what they think by joking around and asking the question. So you're half joking, but you're wanting to find out how they respond. They immediately said, this feels like an interview. Just relax. Like, I hate these kind of dates. Not another set of questions. I feel like I'm on a job interview. And no matter how lighthearted you try and make it, and I'm kind of, I've got tact in this thing. I don't go there with a clipboard and coldly asking them questions. I'm smiling, I'm having fun, and I'm saying, so why did blah, blah, blah happen? Or what do you think about blah, blah, blah? But as soon as it's a question that they know relates to whether or not this date goes well, they close up and they don't want to talk about it. In the same way they tell guys, don't talk about these things because you won't get it into bed. But for me, it's like effort. I don't care. I'm not wasting my time on dates and going out with a person and never asking them important questions because I don't want to scare away, getting her into bed. It's pretty stupid. Anyway, remember, guys, I can't sift through all these comments. Otherwise, I make the stream boring for all of you. So if it's a question to me, please put a bright colored circle or 3 before your question if it's for me. So I pose the question, why does she pout or walk away if she doesn't get her way? It might be a lack of being used to direct and an intelligent conversation, because you look at a lot of women's entertainment, the movies they watch, the friends they hang out with, the friends they don't have. If they don't have friends and they just watch real low-grade, trashy women's videos on YouTube, that's what they're conditioned by, and the language. And they're not used to exercising, their vocabulary through an intelligent conversation that they might have in front of elders or people with who talk seriously about life and have a more well-read, more reasonable, things like that. So I think a lot of these girls are just kind of in the general cesspool of the Kardashian era, which says a lot and should tell you that, well, there's not much fruit on this tree for me in terms of if I was going out with them, like I wouldn't be able to spend much time with them. I couldn't. There's been nothing to say. There's only the physical for this person, and I need to tolerate their mind. So I was wondering about this, like this claim that men don't communicate, men aren't honest, men aren't serious. And then when you try and work things out, get to the heart of things and really care enough, what's the problem? How can we get past this? It's, well, you should know. It's basically mind reading or saying what she feels. Otherwise, she doesn't like it. She walks away. Those sort of things. And some guys will say, well, you have to appreciate women are more emotional. They don't operate from this same fix-it logical place that men do, or use the language. But I call BS, because we need a consensus of language. Like, we need to agree, okay, how are we going to deal with this, right? And if she's saying, well, I'm going to deal with it in my head on my own, and you have to read my mind, and just, if you're going to make noises with your mouth, I don't need them to be literal words that mean something. I need to be made to feel better, then this situation is fixed. Whereas a guy, he's trying to use something that we both can use, that we agree is the same tool, like language and the actual meaning of words. And if there's a problem, and if you say we need to get through it or fix it, a guy thinks you actually mean that. And this is a frustration with guys, whether it's in conversation, arguments, working through things in relationships, or even just a woman saying, oh, I'm this kind of person. I'm too nice. I'm a catch. I'm X, Y, and Z, when she's actually not. It's either lying or not being honest about what's coming out of her mouth. Because I can't be responsible for the fantasy outcome you want to happen if you pretend to be using words that mean something and you're nodding your head and saying, yeah, I am this person. And then the more you get to know the person, it's not who they are. It's who they want to be. They're just saying the words that you want to hear. So they're in a relationship, that they're with a guy, that they have affection. So as I think TFM said, women just use words like magic. So there was a comment. Let me get the browser up here. Where was it? Yeah, Tygon. This is a point of view I don't necessarily agree with, but this is where I don't agree that, well, women operate in different ways. If we are to communicate with words and language, to be on the same page, then we need to acknowledge that this word means what it means between us objectively, correct? Does the word up mean the same thing to you? It's this direction. Can we agree? Yes. And then later on, it's almost like, well, women feel like it's this way one moment and that way the next and that way the next. Well, no wonder we're frustrated, because you keep changing the meaning of things. You keep changing your promises. You keep changing so much of what comes out of your mouth that you tell us to trust you with. And then later on, either you say you didn't say it to avoid the responsibility of your words, or you just feel a different way. So again, you don't feel like you said it anyway, or you said it yesterday, so it doesn't mean anything today. Well, I'm pretty sure that if men operated that way, women would right away jump on them and say, well, you broke your promise, which they always do. If men break their promise or say something that they go back on, or they're hypocrites, a woman will point to it and a man will own up and say, yeah, I know I did, but yeah, I screwed up. Like, men don't believe their own BS. Well, Look, I'll read what Tygon said. He said, women are direct. You just have to learn womanese. It's awfully egocentric to think that the way men speak is the normal way to be. Come on. Well, if you want to relate to the person, there needs to be a baseline of communication. You know, does the alphabet exist? Is A, B, and C the same for the other person? Yes. When you form words, do these words mean certain things? Grammatically and lexically, when you put a sentence together, not only does it directly, not directly, but literally mean what it means, the way it means, or it doesn't. Otherwise, if the other person can reinterpret everything, you know, like so many people, so what you mean, human, or what you're saying is, no, I said what I said. Stop reinterpreting. And I think this female way of feeling, not thinking, but feeling through sentences and communication, we're just going further and further off a cliff here today, where people reinterpret. We've gone way past, it's not what you said, it's how you said it. We've gone to, well, I don't care what you said and how you said it. I've reinterpreted it to this, so you're wrong. Or more like, I'm right because this is how I feel. What you say doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't matter what you said. My world only exists because I'm a nervous bubble and I have the inability to communicate. I live online all the time. I'm a fragile wreck. I take antidepressants, and all that's important is making myself feel good. So if I have to fantasize about what you said to me, I will, because I don't want to take responsibility. I feel uncomfortable. How can I feel and believe how I feel so I just feel good? I'll just reinterpret reality. I'll make up what you said. I'll infer what I think will make me feel better based on what you said. No, I don't agree with this kind of, we need to understand the way women speak and communicate. If she's talking to herself, have at it. You know, take your meds, go to a therapist, whatever, if it's in your own little bubble, but do not pretend to take another person down in a relationship and say it's their fault or they don't understand you when you are willfully, obtusely not paying respect to the basic tenets of communication. What the words like "how are you" mean, or can you pick that up for me? What do you think about this? Everything is up for grabs today. It's ridiculous. And then they ask, "Oh, why don't we get along?" It drives me nuts because a lot of the same people, especially the woke crowd, that complain about the unfairness and they pretend to scratch their heads. Why are we here? Why are men and women so I really can't stand those videos. I used to watch them a lot to sort of think that genuinely people are going to discuss the problems between men and women. But now when I see a video with that's such mundane and basic title, and the person on the cover is like looking in the air as though they just discovered men and women and they just looked at the world. Why are men and women not getting along? Why aren't men and women getting married? What? It's like, oh, please. Like, I can't watch this channel anymore. It's like forcing me to watch Nickelodeon and I'm a 50-year-old man. It's like, I can't watch that genre anymore. It's pretending to want a solution and all they want is, oh, we got to continue the conversation. No, we don't. I'm tired of this obtuse conversation ad nauseum where people just want to talk and fight against each other. And, you know, this is, sorry, I'm on a rant here, but you watch the most popular channels where it's all about relationship debates, people with microphones, you know, 3 to 5 people arguing in a podcast on YouTube and just arguing over each other. You know what I think it is? Everyone's too cowardly to find out what they want. No one wants to have a relationship. Men don't need women. And so what they do socially is they go into these podcasts and have quasi relationships by yelling at each other. And so you get on podcasts and you yell at strangers who are men or women to try and have some sort of simulacra of a fake relationship because you're too gutless to look at yourself and be honest with who you are and call people out and say no to a pretty mess in a short skirt. Because you don't want that. People are having these safe, distant relationships by arguing with the opposite sex online to feel like that, well, this feels kind of like a relationship because I'm arguing with a girl or a guy. You're not. Anyway, end of rant for now. Ah. Anyway. Let's see. Hey, Peg, how are you? Hi, Schlitz. Yeah, Solitary Mission says, I can't bring myself to app it. Real life is much preferable. Unfortunately, almost everyone dates via apping. I remember when, the last years when I was dating, once or twice, when I just started talking to a girl I liked in public, I saw her out and about. You could tell she was very uncomfortable because she's used to socializing this way and dating this way, and she's completely out of her comfort zone. I'm not just saying it's flattering to her. I felt awful because she felt uncomfortable. This generation, the older I got, they want you like, don't look at me, don't talk to me. Here's my Instagram, here's my email, like, bye, and they can't wait to get away from you. Then they get comfortable with you online, and then they decide. So I think the problem is a lot of us who are dating online now, and dating online is the 95% of the way most people get together, is you form a fantasy of what you hope, want, and think this person or feel this person's going to be. And then you're ultimately disappointed when it's not them. And you don't even know how to communicate. You think that your LOLs online and via the app were enough, but they're not. And then when you get to face, you have no idea what to do. Hey, Vero, Happy New Year to you as well. Happy New Year, everyone. Hope it goes better than the last few. Yes, I am. But when I'm talking, I'm concentrating on what I'm saying. This is important too. August Lyon said, you can only experience loneliness if you don't enjoy your own company. I've, for the most part, never felt lonely. On the odd occasion, I did, but when I'm kind of lamenting something from the past, like a past moment catches me where I'm thinking, that was a crappy situation. I wish I didn't say that, but I'm not necessarily missing the person. There's just some sort of, what's the word? What's the word when you feel kind of sympathy for the past? Nostalgia. I'm feeling some very intimate nostalgia for a moment or a person, but not necessarily that I want them back. You're welcome. There's a lot of thank yous. Thank you. Glad you're enjoying the videos. Sandra said, is it plausible deniability, or is it that they haven't been taught how to be accountable? I think they're very, very relatable. They're cousins, and one feeds the other. If they were, for instance, disciplined and taught to be accountable by their parents, or let's be frank, usually the father sets the boundaries and disciplines, but just say either or of their parents, their upbringing, they were taught to be responsible, fair, have manners, do the right thing, and that's kind of been cemented into their upbringing under the age of 10, then it's very hard for them. It's like a OCD twitch that they can't feel comfortable lying. They can't feel really good taking advantage of someone. But if someone has been raised by media online, like a lot of kids today, they've been raised with this in their hand, then yeah, no. And then it's very easy to be plausibly deniable. Because don't forget, neuropsychologically speaking, we don't really make choices, gentlemen and ladies. We feel what we feel, and in a microsecond, we scramble to justify our feelings by words to make us feel better. So if your pigeonholes of morals and what your memes of right and wrong in there, what you pull out, women ain't this. The only way to win is not to play, blah, 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 right? If those memes that you pluck out of your pigeonholes of morality and ethics, when you feel a certain way, you reach for ones that help you feel the way you feel, help you justify the feeling you have as an instinct, because that's a very animal response. Those primal feelings, your mind, your prefrontal catches up afterwards. And before your mind catches up, your justifications for your feelings slot in between. So it's like primal feelings, valid, plausible deniability and excuses for your feelings to allow yourself to feel the way you feel. And then your reasoned, third person observer, mature mindset of like, okay, let me actually ask questions and speak to myself through this. But the feelings part, a lot of people just go with that and they feel righteous. You have rare people that can do it really quickly, like a Jordan Peterson or a Andrew Tate. They can jump to the prefrontal and really not pay too much attention to the justification, the justification of your feelings. But it all depends on how much you practice, not just justifying your feelings, but making sure they serve you well. And the explanation for your justification of your feelings actually translate, and you can speak them with a straight face, and you can communicate them to other people. I can't even communicate myself. August Line says, men have to face the fact that we are ultimately 100% responsible for everything that happens in our lives. Women aren't. Society gives them an out. Yes. See, this is I agree with you 100%, August Line. And it's not to mean that I blame men, but I think that most of us who are more mature and want to have more control over our lives realize that you cannot control women. The amount of these popular channels that try and work women out, we've gone past female nature and, trying to accept the average entitled female, the Western Kardashian woman out there, accepting her the way she is. But we're trying to still work her out like a formula, like a 1 + 1 = 2. Women, the modern woman out there is largely stochastic and unpredictable. And of course, there's no reason and there's no way you can really have a stable relationship to her. The best you can do is reason with yourself, own everything, have extreme ownership, bar the ridiculous one. Like if she's blindsided you and you truly had no idea, even though you know a lot of this stuff, you truly self-reflected, did a lot of work on yourself, tried to never make the same mistakes again, improved yourself verbally, I don't know, in life in general, in all these ways, and someone genuinely blindsides you, you learn from that. But you can still own every mistake because you said yes to something, maybe naively, but you own the naive mistake. But you lay blame where blame is due if it was primarily or almost entirely with her. But the amount of guys that accept no blame starts to remind me of a lot of women that we complained about. Just the guy says, pretty much done with dating. I mean, I'd consider anything extraordinary on my terms, but that's about it. Also, I say this quite often to people in my life. Be very careful with the words you habitually and automatically use. Me, like, I like language, in case you can't tell by the amount I blab. But when you say I'd consider something extraordinary, I realize it's factual compared to the average woman out there. A woman that's just baseline more normal, fair, and kind is very extraordinary. But also for yourself, don't use any word you want, right? But I'm speaking to myself when I'm talking to you guys. I try to steer away from real extreme binary words that make anything other than those words failure and very hard to achieve. So I always say, I was done with dating the average woman, but I left the door unlocked for my specific kind of woman. Rather than saying I'm after a unicorn, I'm after something extraordinary, I know the chances of that happening, but the language you use, you know, I would say I'd consider something very specific now, a very narrow range. It makes it easier for you not to hold on so tight to perfection or a unicorn that probably won't happen, even if you don't care. But it's harder for you to actually see that specific person that only narrowly fits you. If they're extraordinary, they become, a superhero or a myth. You won't see them. So just be very wary of how we speak to ourselves. But I do agree with you, just the guy. Yeah, I said it before about don't scare the eggs away, a subtle way of putting it. Yep. Athena Adventure says, do you think it's wise for men to record audio video when engaging with the opposite sex? The Johnny Depp case comes to mind. When you first meet people, I think a lot of people also, a lot of guys have been demoralized. They don't trust their own behavior today. And so they have to take drastic measures and not trust any woman before you can trust them. So you can't trust a woman until you've gone on a few dates and start to slowly drip feed your bucket of trust with her, right? You trust someone over time. That's the tricky part. As Ernest Hemingway said, the only way to trust someone is to trust them. So unfortunately, if you don't know the person, you're just starting to get to know them. If you wouldn't trust them with like very private details about your personal life, inviting them into your home, meeting your family and friends, things that like would really make them completely part of your life. I don't think in today's climate it's really out of the way, especially on the first couple of dates. But then again, no, I wouldn't actually, because it's again not trusting yourself. And I know that the culture out there does everything to demoralize a man, and does everything to make him not trust himself. They want men not trusting themselves. What's the only message they allow out there now? It's not a stoic philosophical message of becoming a strong man mentally through honest self-reflection. So you have the moral and ethical stance of knowing yourself completely, and then women and the world come secondary as a relational thing. But you are the first thing that relates to the world and women. No, what's the only thing they permit today online? Is the clickbait of go to the gym, earn a lot of money. Look at all the things that are popular that they allow. They don't allow intellectual discussion. They allow a lot of bravado from guys, a lot of posturing about money. Like, I like a lot of things about Andrew Tate, but consider why that stuff's more popular. It's allowed. It's not censored as much. It's extreme. It's people love it, but they don't allow the intellectual side, and that's the only way you can trust yourself, guys. The videos that are about honest, practical, praxeological self-reflection of a guy practicing what he's tested and thinks is right in the world by his speech, how he interacts. No longer is he going out there confused, because a lot of the videos that are popular are all structural. I was watching a video recently that I might make a response about, but even guys, whether they're religious and they're talking about how to find the right wife, or guys who aren't religious, how to find the right woman. It's like, get your money in order, female nature, pick the right woman. And I keep screaming, how? Stop putting these chess pieces in play, and you don't teach anyone how to, like, it's like you're teaching people to write structurally. You're giving them a certificate, but no one is teaching someone past the structural mathematical certificate or the mathematical way that a guy can structurally be a better useful tool in the world for himself and others. How do you gain natural self-esteem other than women and money and status? I know you know yourself through there a lot, but your inner world is not discussed. Anyway, I'm going off track, but I just find that very, very curious. In terms of needing to record yourself, I would say if you need to do that, I wouldn't go on a date. Seriously, I wouldn't. Maybe on the first, if you're kind of on the fence and maybe if you know you've been postponing the date or you haven't been the nicest person, you haven't spent a lot of time giving her time and she wants to go on a date and you do too, and you could see you're objectively being a bit dismissive or rude or something or whatever. Say you want to give her the benefit of the doubt before you're actually ready. Do what you want to do. If your instinct is saying record the video, do it, especially on the first couple of dates. But I would say largely no. If anything is saying don't go on a date, don't go on a date. You know, if it's not an intelligent hell yes, if it's not a sensible, mature hell yes, I not only find her visually and primally attractive, but also my brain, there's no red flags popping up either. Like everything is saying like, this will be fun. I'm not worried about anything. Other than, you know, some guys worry about what they'll say. They don't know how to speak to women. But aside from that, if there's nothing objectively stopping you, yeah, I think like that, things like that, you're putting a wall in front of yourself. So I would say generally no. But I would say if you're already dating a person and you have to record, it's like the question, should you marry this girl if she walks out on you all the time and she never wants to confront situations and work through things? You know the answer. If you're going to date someone and you continually have to record everything in case, yeah. Look, if she was recording everything as well, you'd find out there would be some things off. You create distance between the two of you. So I would trust your instincts. No matter how hot she is, I think just a lot of guys just think, well, I don't want to record it, but she's hot. A solitary mission says plausible deniability makes it seem she's planning things. I think it's simpler. Most women and some men are in a permanent state of arrested development, mental children when it matters. I wouldn't say, I've never thought she feels like she's planning something. For me, it's just like if someone, I don't know who someone is unless they express it and communicate it to me. I feel it's fake for me to interpret someone if they're less direct. I'm giving them too much rope. I'm setting myself up for them betraying me and things like that. If I can't get the words out of them, if I can't get them to commit to a yes or no when it's important, if I can't resolve a situation, I can't sleep at night. So there's a lot of walking on eggshells that I don't like. And the only way I can get off the eggshells is to speak, communicate, and resolve, and at least make the thing clear. If she says, like, I need to think about this, that's fine. I know where I stand. But if I'm sort of spinning in space and I've got no footing and I don't know where north, south, and west is, then doesn't it all go back to base survival strategy means? Physical means of survival versus social means? Yeah, there's a lot of that too. Most of us operate from the primal source. But like I said before, we look for justifications. Generally, women aren't intellectually or lexically as sort of skilled at communicating reality. They love emoting words to feel well, and they lie. You look at women, they get together, it's like, oh my God, you look gorgeous. I love your dress. And then the moment she's away, it's like, oh, she's a bitch. I hate her. It's like, so they just lie and say things in the moment to produce emotions like, you know, New Year's Eve fireworks and just like a feel-good BS soup that they don't actually mean. Guys just keep their mouth shut. I think guys have to be more real, otherwise we wouldn't survive through history. Whereas women don't. They can live in their fantasy world and believe it. Jack continues, doesn't all go back to base survival strategy means? Physical means of survival versus social means of survival. Mayweather defense style. Elusive. Don't get hit, counter figuratively. Sure, it's duck and weave, things like that. But I'm hoping, like, unless the guy's shouting at her, but this is just communication. I'm sort of saying, I'm not saying, give me an answer now. I'm trying to use language. And if I care about the person, I'm showing sympathy. I'm trying to show empathy. A lot of times from a woman's experience is very hard, but at the very least, I'm trying to show sympathy. I'm trying to look at it from a third person fair point of view. And I'm trying to be patient, but at least communicate. Say, let me think about it. I'm not sure how to respond. I'm not a tyrant, but don't pretend that this is important. You're crying and you're not saying anything. So you don't just get to cry. So I feel sorry for the female part of the species, and we stop talking, and you feel like, well, I stopped crying, I stopped feeling bad, so the issue is over. And I don't want to start crying again because I don't know what to say. I'm not looking to find the words and then come back later when I've stopped crying. No, I feel like we don't need to speak about it because he said, oh, it's okay. I don't want to see you cry. It's not communication. It's not communication. I cannot plug into your brain, sweetheart. The only thing we have, which is why I've often said that I need someone I can communicate with, not just because I love language and words and ideas and philosophy and the more cerebral part of life. I find it interesting. But it's about the only baseline. The only thing men and women can non-verbally really do together is eat, watch Netflix, and, do this. But that's all kind of just crossing your fingers and hoping that everything's aligns, but unless you've got the very objective tool of language, where if I say a certain sentence, it literally means that to you, unless I'm being satirical and I'll let you know and you know my sense of humor. But if it's a serious conversation, A plus B equals C. If I say the sky's blue, I mean the sky's blue. That's all I mean. It doesn't matter how you feel. I'm not inferring something else. Literal language is the only way we can long-term exist and find out who we are. We can see if we contradict ourselves. If I ask you, what do you really think about this? What are your values, your honest, mature values on this subject, Frank? And Frank says that, and he keeps going back on it and acting differently. This is what women do. They say who they want to be. They virtue signal the thing that will get them dates and positive attention and, a boyfriend. And then later on, when they drop the mask after the honeymoon, it's like, well, if you knew that about me, I was afraid you wouldn't go out with me. Well, too right. But now I'm justifiably annoyed because you lied. But boo-hoo-hoo, I don't care. And they'll think I'm callous and cold, but you just stole 3 months of my life, you moron. Like, sorry, no. I'm not going to go around life throwing 3 months and 2 years. Like, I'm going to learn from those experiences. You don't get to just take away the irretrievable resource of time, my life. And it's the same thing women need to understand when they call guys tight asses when they won't spend money. Men generally earn money. We know that money is our time that we spend to earn it. And so when women frivolously just ask men to spend their money without any reason, it's like, you are taking months and years away from my life. Don't just ask me to buy you a $20,000 wedding ring, a useless clump of rock that's been polished, that's artificially inflated, just so you feel like you're worth it. So a woman feels like, oh, look, he must really love me. He spent so much money on the most worthless thing. I know he loves me. Because he didn't spend it on a car that I like, because he can kind of wrap his head around, okay, car, I get it. I have some appreciation. It's functional, blah, blah, blah. She wants a car. Maybe I'll buy her a $20,000 car. But a shiny piece of rock that's literally worth it, and it's only been told it's worth $20,000 because, I don't know, the cartel that in a limited sense releases diamonds says it's worth that much. Let's see. Remember, I can't tell if they're all questions to me, guys. So if you're in this stream, put 3 yellow circles in front of your question to me, or super chat me, and I'll definitely see it. I'll definitely read out all your super chats, but I won't be able to read out all your questions because there's so many comments here. Because how many people have we got on the stream so far? we've been going for nearly 45 minutes and we've got 115 people live. So good to see a lot of the familiar faces back, guys. So look, this is the question I posed. Why does she walk away? Why does she always walk out and can't find the words to communicate? And she basically acts like a child, comes back, and you have to pretend that it didn't happen. You've somehow resolved the situation because you've avoided it. That avoidance is a ghost that's haunting your relationship and you. That's the reason you can't sleep at night. That's the reason you don't talk anymore. Communication is the only objective baseline where you can actually correlate what someone believes and thinks with actually how they act, and to see if they're not being hypocritical. And so my question is, why can't she be direct? The title of this video. One reason I came up with is that I think just generally women just think it's not fun, it's not romantic. Women don't like these serious questions on first dates. And it's really because of this reason. This is really the first reason. They don't like being responsible. They don't like being accountable. You know, I'll acknowledge fully, women do not like questions. They don't like questions. They don't like serious questions. They like questions like, do you want to go to this restaurant or that restaurant? Do you want to go to the Maldives or Morocco? But they don't like very personal introspective questions where they need to be responsible for how they act, and where they can't be hypocritical, where they have to be responsible not for their feelings, but for their values that they really use as a compass in life, for the few women that do, apart from the ones who are just purely driven by emotion. So women don't like questions, but they don't like being responsible, and they use it's not fun as a way to circumvent and avoid responsibility. And that's why I asked these two questions in the poll. And most guys agree, and I do too. I agree with this mostly. There's no plausible deniability in directness. There's no logical, a woman can ignore logic, reason, direct, mature, honest conversation that would make her relationship better, because it's not fun and exciting, because then she has to not be a child. She can be a child if she's got plausible deniability, if she just feels the way she feels, if Pumpkin just wants a $20,000 wedding ring, if Pumpkin expects X, Y, and Z on Valentine's Day, her birthday, and even if you're being nice, it's not the thought that counts with her, it's her getting exactly the excess that she wants and expects and demands and blah, blah, blah. But if you were to say, look, do you not appreciate this small gift I got you on your birthday? Then she would be forced to explain herself and say, yeah, I know you got it for me, but I really wanted this. Then the language that she would need to explain herself with in communication would actually expose how childish and just arrogant and entitled she is. How much of a 5-year-old she is. Because then it would be, you're not thankful. You're a princess that wants everything. Like someone buying you dinner or taking care of you or being nice to you. You don't want a guy that's average or above average. You want the 1% of superheroes that virtually and almost no one can get. And most of those people, the 1%ers, you don't tend to get a good relationship with those guys. You get the lifestyle, so you probably don't care about the guy anyway, but I should probably get rid of this spoon because the ASMR through my microphone. I was actually watching a video on this microphone the other day. It doesn't get good reviews, but I've got a whole bunch, and this one by far, I like the sound of this on my voice much more than the others. But anyway, I digress. Any other questions here? Remember, guys, any questions you want to ask me if you're here during the live stream, put 3 yellow emojis before your question, or super chat me, and I'll definitely answer the super chat. Okay. Some of you guys, you do communicate, but your writing, your grammar is terrible. I know a lot of it's the fault of the internet age. Jack Dawes says, I think they use communicative distance very tactically, coupled with emotional pressure. They can easily use our urge to resolve problems against us to pull us into their frame. Yeah, but then you got them playing musical chairs and saying, we don't want you to fix our problems. We just want you to listen to us. And somehow, if they just blab and just use words that will try and push the conversation or you into a better emotional state, and you give in, you veered so far away from addressing the topic that they feel like, oh, we've resolved the conversation because he just listened to me talk. It's almost like the mother talking down to her son. That's not communication. It's not a very respectful one anyway. Yeah. I agree. Yes, August. Yeah, I don't know, Chris. I have no idea. Let's get more of the chat in. I'm not getting everyone in. Ah, cool. Prince Revolver, thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it. He says, it's hard to communicate with women considering almost every conversation revolves around reassuring her. Yes. I think guys, we baby women too much on the first dates because we really like them. Guys just automatically go into first dates treating these women they like almost like their future daughter. Now, I don't know if I had an easier time because I never wanted kids, so I never had that automatic instinct, but I think a lot of guys just treat their women like they do the daughter. And it's really something guys need to be conscious of. Most guys really, really do. And because then when you go on that first date, you're not just reassuring her. Like if she says, "Oh, I don't think I look good in this," and I go, "Well, that's actually a good thing that you're very like honest and self-reflective about it. Like that's impressive. Like you don't see many girls, so you don't coddle her like, when you can tell she's fishing for compliments, don't give her compliments because you can tell she's fishing. You don't just compliment your way into bed, guys, because then you're left with that. First impressions stay because every woman, if you're just an avalanche of reassurance and compliments and things like that, you're just saying yes to her all the time. Then later on, once the honeymoon period wears off, you're the kind of guy that changes. She's got every right to say, well, where did this guy come from? Jen Fu, thank you very much for the super chat donation. I appreciate it. She or he says, or whatever, Z or Zer says, how or prescriptions don't work. Please see Kapil Gupta. I've never heard of them, but I will write them down. Yeah, I'm not saying that telling someone how to act or what to do, but just general being able to sort of form a baseline of a rational conversation and like, are we on the same page? We are talking, but we can't just be spouting sounds that that are in the form of words unless they mean something, unless we can both nod or disagree with their literal meaning to get somewhere. Because we're very emotional now. We're trying to talk to get less emotional and get back to stability, right? To either fix something or to agree to disagree at the very least. Or we don't need to agree, but we want to get to some baseline where we're not on opposite ends of understanding, that we're so antagonistic. See, a lot of people want to have a debate and they want to win, but I want to be happy. I don't want to win. It's why, like, a lot of people suggested me go on certain podcasts and so on and so forth. I'm after interesting conversations. I'm after constructive conversations. I'm not after a debate where one person's trying to win and prove that they're better than me. I may sharpen my opinions and be better, but if this person is so narcissistic that they believe they're right and they're just being polite enough so that they can have a conversation with me because they want to win. I don't want to have a conversation like that. Like, I may agree with your points. You may be right on everything. But if your attitude is, you know what it's like? It's like those people that call up customer service, they've got a complaint, they've got a problem, and they don't call up to have a conversation about how to rectify it. They call up determined with, I'm going to get this. They call a company where they say, no, I'm going to get a new phone or whatever, and I'm going to be a sly prick, and I don't care what they say. I want to speak to the manager. I'm not getting off the phone until I get what I want. That's what a lot of these people are like in conversation. They've got a predetermined outcome. They've got a debate in their mind, and they don't want to have a conversation. And that's what a lot of people are like in relationships. Women especially, they feel this way, they expect this, and they've got a predetermined template of how certain things go in relationships. And the moment you as a guy intrude with, heaven forbid, you exist here and you've got a personal point of view that they need to contend with, they don't like it. So, you know, whatever. NN says, what can you honestly expect from someone who isn't able to love you for who you are as a man? You're essentially a pet dog that's smarter than her, as unexpected to provide. True for the general woman, but like what I keep wanting guys to do, because this is the only way I started to be happier when I was trying to date and enjoy my time with women, is that just because almost all women out there, you know, if you go out there like a lemming, a male lemming trying to date female lemmings, if you believe that you don't have any agency, you can't speak because she's going to walk away, you won't get her into bed, it's like you have to adopt the attitude is like, do I care more about her and the average woman, or do I care subjectively much more about my world? Because think about anything else to do with women, right? You like your camera, your car, your job, your pastimes, your hobbies. Like no one actually can really intrude and tell you to change those things. But when it comes to women, you're helpless. So are you finally going to take the stance and say, I don't care about the vast majority of women, and I'm not going to bend over backwards to find a unicorn, but I am only going to tolerate and give the time of day to a person that's respectful? And again, a lot of guys will say, LOL human, you're living in like a sort of a fantasy land. No women are like that. Well, okay, keep your point of view. You're going to get exactly what you get in life with that kind of point of view. But no, I've gotten too many things in my life simply because of my attitude, and it's not an unrealistic one. If there's two very likely outcomes, if it's roughly 50-50, or if I adopt a better attitude, I can get the outcome I want to a very, very high probable degree, I'll choose that. And then everyone says, well, that person was lucky. You talk to a married couple and you can actually see how they communicate, why they get along, they're best friends. And you ask one of these, you know, red pillars, they'll say, oh, well, they're lucky. Listen to them. This isn't luck. This isn't, oops, this person just dropped into my life and I married them. Any more than you look at Andrew Tate or any successful businessman or any, you know, Mr. Olympia. It's not, oops, I won Mr. Olympia. Oops, I got married to a wonderful person. Oops, I've got a successful business. Come on, guys. This is the stuff I want guys to be honest with how they operate. If you're always nihilistic and nothing that you do matters, do it, fine. It's not my life. But if you really believe that, you wouldn't sort of care or get on the podium of caring about the unfairness. If it's that way and you truly believe it, you're not energized by fighting it. You truly accept it. You know? I don't know. I do know, but it just kind of annoys me. Quaz, how are you, man? He says, can we consider the assertion that there is a non-linear disconnect between individuals who seek transactional tit-for-tat relating as opposed to those who desire sincere connection? Yeah. I think there's kind of people that don't want to communicate. They're completely narcissistic and they just exist in their own bubble, like the majority of women. And now it's like increasingly guys. Then you've got those that the only logic they apply is tit for tat, like a very kind of this balances this. That's the logic they use. Well, I cooked you dinner last night, you cook me dinner tonight. I took you out here, you take me out here. That's the extent of their relational logic. And then you've got the people that have got some sort of nuance where they can actually see fairness and boundaries, where this person doesn't need to cook me a great meal, but I really can tell that they love me or appreciate me by these other very subjective ways that they genuinely show affection. I can't ignore how nice this person is, even if the manosphere says she has to cook really well, or she has to do this really well, or do that. Like there are these objective criteria that you should marry or be with or whatever. It's like, no, you should know enough of yourself and trust your own judgment to see, you know why you like this or love this person. And it's because they don't have to slot into a manosphere box of what a good woman is. But you have to know, with the knowledge from the manosphere before she became a real person to you, why you love her. A lot of guys can't tell you why they love their partner. But I think it's a very important question, because it tells you your subjective reasoning and how much you've gotten to build your own ethical system. Like, I know why. It's similar to the way I can tell you why I love my father. I can tell you why I love my family members too. I don't love my father because he was a man who provided for the family and blah, blah. You know, it's not a robotic checklist of what a good man is. I can tell you sort of very personal things about his life, who he was, his values, how he showed them in real life. And they're not the rudimentary things of what a good man is. He had a lot of them, but the exceptional, objective things he was that made him a standout above any other man, that sort of showed me lessons. Like, that's the kind of thing guys need to trust their own judgment as to why they pick this person. Ask yourself, kind of, you can say why you love your hobby, right? You can start to be more expressive and exciting, and you can explain it a bit more objectively. But how many guys can actually tell you, why do you love her? And they'll say, oh, SMV, she cooks, she cleans, she's good in bed. It's like, you can slot any other girl in that position, but why have you subjectively chosen her? Apart from her rudimentary kind of structural things that every other man gives you a thumbs up, yeah, you picked a good girl. Why do you specifically love her or like her? Why was she the exception? Is it really because of the standards of all men? Or did your standards supersede, or did they sit on top of the objective ones? Things like her temperance, her fairness, her kindness. I'm amazed to the degree that which guys pick women who are not kind, and they try to ignore that and say, well, she cooks well, she's fun to be around. Yeah, but what kind of fun? Roller coaster fun? Driving too fast in your car fun? Mind-blowing sex fun, like a sociopath? But she can't be kind. I can't rely on her. She can't stand it when I'm weak. She gets really annoyed at me when I'm confused, you know? So I just don't think guys trust themselves enough, because they don't care about the boring stuff to do with philosophy, language, speaking up for yourself, knowing who you are, things like that. To them, it's just woman speak, and it's not, as far as I'm concerned. Remember, guys, you want to ask me a question during the stream, here during the stream, if you're live, put 3 brightly colored circles in front of your question, or super chat me, and I will see your question. As exhausting as it is, it seems necessary that one builds the hamster wheel for her mind to run on, lest she build it herself. Dismantle the hamster wheel through words, guys. Dismantle the hamster wheel. And that goes with you as well. I made a few videos a few years ago where it really struck me the degree to which the relationship, the way you speak to yourself, the hamster wheel you build in your own head with the conversations you have with yourself, you deconstruct the hamster wheel and you have really good conversations with with yourself, and you really know how to express your thoughts. It becomes so much easier to recognize bad people, bad women, bad situations that you don't want to have yourself in, because through your language and how you're having a conversation with yourself, you see the lack of it in the woman sitting across from you on a dinner date or a coffee. You see the lack of the calm world you've built through knowing yourself in a job interview where everything they're saying is like, I don't know if I like that. I don't like the environment. I don't like what they expect of me. Where you don't just take the job because you want the money. In the same way, you don't just take the woman because she's hot and you want to go to bed with her. If you don't care about the things that are really important to you, and the way you know them is through self-reflection and being able to speak them, then you can communicate them later on a date. That's the best feedback loop you can have of your reality. And then it's not, oops, I love someone and I have no idea why. You know why you love them. Because conversationally, lexically, how you think, how you speak with her and everyone else, it's just a lot easier. Look, but I can't make guys be interested in what they're not interested in. Chaplain says, I think men's willingness to have a relationship with childish women comes from humans' evolutionary past, where men married young women before their personalities were settled. Yeah, they got married younger, but also the structural norms were there to a degree where guys couldn't stray too far beyond polite social norms, and that included marriage and how you treat the opposite sex in relationships. And if you publicly or privately transgressed, there were penalties for it, even if it was socially, even if it was a slap on the wrist, and everyone wanted to be proper. Most people did anyway. That's how a civilized society was developed. And I'm pretty sure people love civilized society much more than a chaotic one that we have today. Now it's everything goes. I'm not saying you need to be religious, but I think for the simple-minded, religion was a really great calibrator for those that aren't philosophically minded. They give you just basic principles of how to conduct yourself, treat people, and be reciprocal. If you don't want to think, you got no interest in it, at least you got some sort of philosophy. But today, people have no philosophy. They don't need God or anything. They have no interest yet. They think they know more than the history on the past and God and Bibles and their elders and grandfathers and everyone. They know more because they feel like they do. What does that sound like? That sounds like a woman who's just stubborn and childish, and she feels the way she feels, and she just wants to feel confident and good. And you go, girl, and with the guys, it's the same. You go, guy. No experience, no mature conversations. Just the guy says, I don't like debating and arguing for the sake of it, but one should be allowed to disagree with someone in an honest, mature conversation. Some people don't like to be challenged because of ego. I agree. Keep the conversation coming, guys. If you want to ask a question, put a bright emoji before your question, or super chat me and I'll see it for sure. Hey, Donna, how you going? Brad, MC. Donna was asking me a question before the stream. Why am I having a stream at 11 o'clock on a Thursday morning? I kind of figured, like, I haven't done a midweek stream for a while, and also a lot of people are on holidays right now. Very few people go back on like the 3rd, just after New Year's. I did. But I only work 3 days a week at a day job. So it's no big deal. And I work for a really nice place. It's not stressful at all. And also, when I ask the question, why can't women be direct? People just jump to a political answer. No, personally. I know biology, there's excuses like society and girl power and all that stuff. Like, really, let's look at the fairness of it all. Why do you think her instinct avoids it? It's not like she's thinking politics, girl power, society. She's just reacting. Why? Alexander asks, what do you do if you talk too much to yourself and you try to silence your mind, but you struggle? This is why, as Karu often says, go out and touch grass. I think you just can't talk to yourself. You really need to express it. Start a YouTube channel, man. I did that because I had no one to talk to, including the girlfriend I had at the time. You need to let it out. Otherwise, it's a pressure cooker. You'll drive yourself insane. I think, at the very least, a lot of guys have the advantage of trying to be logical with the way they speak to themselves inside, but you do need to let it out too. Women's is just mostly a herd of cats, and they're just trying to feel their way through their herd of cats, which they never express properly. Articulating what you feel and the questions you have is logical and precise language is a really great organizing way, an organizing principle to be able to make sense of things. But if we keep things in here all the time, we don't understand ourselves, and we certainly don't understand each other if we pretend like modern relationships that we should read each other's minds. And, oh, great. It was pure luck that human was able to do the right thing. There were 10 options. We didn't speak. I didn't communicate, but he luckily picked the right one. Oh, I love him. That is a terrible way to have a relationship. I don't want to rely on luck. Like, what kind of stability are you going to have in a relationship if you can't communicate directly to make your own luck? But it's more like making your own, concrete words that you both understand and have to abide by. I don't want to rely on I hope I do the right thing next time. I hope I non-communicatively do the right thing next time. Sorry, I can't. Women find that boring and non-romantic, but sorry, I'd rather have a relationship that lasts than keep throwing relationships in the fire because of how women feel, and they insist not to communicate directly because they don't want to be accountable, and it's not fun and romantic. Screw that. Screw that. Yeah, that too. Eat healthy, work out. Yeah, Brad says, I suppose why is always going to be the ultimate question asked when discussing women. Women are comfortable in asking you why, and they want an answer, and they feel clever because they feel like, I'm going to get something and I'm in control. They put you on the spot and they want an answer. But the moment you put them on the spot and demand the reciprocal same, it's like, I cry, I want to avoid the issue, I can't find the words. It's like, you can find the words to demand an answer from me, but you can't find the words to answer a question from me. Anyway, let's read some questions from some of the comments this last week. David P., a long-time supporter. How are you, David? He says, the older I get, the more I realize how important my long-term friendships are. Yes, I think we need really good friendships for the simple fact that that we need to be heard. Like I said, you can't just keep it in here. A great friendship, someone you can trust, makes you trust yourself because you don't contradict each other. It's a relationship that can keep going because it's consistent. You're consistent with how you speak. You feel better when you're consistent and you're disciplined to your own habits and the things you know are right. If you get up every day, you go for a walk. If you get up every day and you conduct yourself based on your yeses and your nos. If you have a friend that conducts themselves relationally with you in the same way, you build trust. You feel good with that kind of consistency with a friend, or with your own mind and the way you speak. But if every day you don't know how to speak, you don't know why your friend or your lover is a person that's close to you, you're walking on eggshells, you're not confident, and you don't trust your own judgment. So I think good relationships in general are essential. First and foremost, a relationship you have with yourself. Otherwise, they're just simply voices in our heads. And for women, they're just feelings in their heads. They're not really articulated voices. Guys try and articulate things much more than women. I know not all, but you know what I mean. Anyway, I don't like all these channels that over-apologize before they give their own opinion. You hear it on shows that you could tell they're trying to sit on the fence and they're trying to give a point of view for men, but also not trying to insult women. And they'll say like, look, I understand the woman's point of view, but first I want to say, like, I don't dislike women. I'm not saying anything bad. You think what you think. This is just my opinion. And they spend 10 minutes apologizing to like the insecure idiots out there that can't tell that that's this person's opinion. This person is talking it through their mouth. Of course it's their opinion, you dimwit. Sorry. And then they spend like 2 seconds giving their honest opinion. We spend 90% apologizing for nothing, trying to make the insecure comfortable before we just give our opinion on a subject, not on a person. I'm not even saying anything about a person. It annoys me. That's just a pet peeve I have amongst many. My previous video here, the only way to win is not to play. Insanity said, I wouldn't drive into a field covered in incendiary mines while on a truck loaded with Promethean barrels. Yes, I wouldn't either, but what's the analogy you're justifying the way you date or not date? You're using a very vivid and extreme way to describe your boundaries and what you will and won't do. Fine. Again, how do you talk to yourself? Do you say, I don't drive a truck through a very narrow minefield littered with mines? Or do you say, I don't walk into minefields at all, and I'm an expert at knowing what a minefield looks like. I talk about it. I make sure where I'm walking, blah, 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 blah. Effectively, both sort of things are agreeing with each other, though both in very different ways. They're certainly not disagreeing with each other. So I don't disagree with guys when they talk about a lot of the logic out there in terms of laws and unfairness between men and women and stuff. But to kind of the way a lot of guys speak, all women, and I have no chance, and the moment I have feelings for a woman, it's over. So I'm not going to even give her the chance of doing that. Well, if you can't control your feelings, okay, sure, I agree with you. Don't. That's the best course of action. I would have said that also to the 22-year-old version of me too, to a lesser degree as I got older, and now forget it. Like, you're always going to get taken advantage of if you just say, yes, I'm fine, it's okay, you can do that. And if you don't communicate directly, you allowing people to just do what they want and agree and say yes, and you keep your mouth shut, will be taken as compliance and like, oh, they're fine with this, they're fine with this, they're fine with this. Sluggo, he commented on my video, don't let this happen to you, where I was commenting where a lot of guys think that their ex-girlfriends from like 10, 20 years ago, they're thinking of them and they're going to come ringing them back and knocking on the door and say, take me back. I've had all these a-holes and you are a really nice guy and I'm sorry. They're not. Women move. None of them are coming back. Women don't like guilt. Sorry, they don't feel guilt, but they don't like shame. And that's a very shameful. Shame is kryptonite to women. So they're not going to come back and feel shamed and honest. And Sluggo says, yeah, it's amazing how they'll chase you around saying you don't love them enough and accusing you of not being dedicated to them for 6 years when they just leave and move on. Dudes get stuck there in the aftermath, still trying to prove their dedication to the ghost as though those early conversations still mean something. David Buss, the evolutionary psychologist, really allowed me to understand what's really happening and not be upset about it. It just is. Yeah, a lot of this information really helps a guy deal with what happened and get away from the emotional. When your emotions are overriding you, a lot of the red pill biology, all of these structural things I was talking about previously in this stream, they really help because you can't make sense of things emotionally. You first need to make sense of things rationally when your emotions are drowning you. Once you're out of water and then your emotions are in the back, you still feel them, you know, you're heartbroken when you think about them, but you're good now. That's when you can start trusting yourself more. But I agree, all the structural stuff is absolutely essential when all you're doing is feeling and regretting and heartbreak, and no amount of logic will get you out of it. No amount of going to the gym, no amount of game, no amount of, you know, banging senseless chicks to get it out of your system. None of that works because you just feel the way you feel. What helps is a mature mentor, an older mentor, whether that be through the books, through stoicism, through mathematics, biology, very rational manosphere content, the laws, things like that, just to kind of calibrate yourself away from emotion. Ace215 said to this video here, he said, you play to win the game. I think some men are feeling like the prize at the end isn't really worth the stress one has to go through to obtain an honest, functional relationship. It's better for them to simply remove themselves and keep their mental health in check. I agree. If you really honestly know what you mean, and you're not just using bravado speak like, I don't need any woman anymore, I'm done with it. And it's not just like a bandage to help yourself feel better, to Tony Robbins your way out of where you are. As long as it's honest, do whatever works for you. But there's a lot of guys that are very loud and over the top, and I doubt whether they really feel that way. It seems like it's a really loud bandage to stand up for what is how they feel right now, to kind of stick the finger up to the ex and to all the unfairness that just happened to them. And I can understand that. NH Ranger also said, the only way to win is not to play really means the easiest way not to lose is not to play. Yes, I understand that's what it really means, and I agree with that. But the way a lot of guys take it, they take it as the life hack for relationships. It's not. There's no relationship. It's a life hack for something else. But guys in the dating pool, in the dating space online, take it as a hack to relationships. It's not a hack to relationships. It's a hack away from relationships. Because what game are you winning? You're not winning the dating woman game. You're winning another game. It celebrates mediocrity the same way women celebrate mediocrity, embracing the dictum. If it feels good, do it. I agree. That was a really nice way of seeing things. NH Ranger. Berg Carly also says about the same video, don't play at all is an easy way to mollify and protect yourself. It should be play on your own terms. Yes, exactly. Play on your own terms. Winning looks different to every guy. If winning is your end game, personally, I don't look at it in those terms. Modern women have never had more agency. I agree. Women are more free. They can do anything they want. Guys are getting censored left, right, and center, like whether it's the workplace, online, anywhere. Men are barely visible, and women are dominating the planet, even in numbers. There's more women on the planet than men. Just everything is just all women today. It's really funny that they still consider themselves a minority or they're victims. No, you're the lazy majority. That's what most of you are. Modern women have never had more agency. They are feeling their oats. I don't blame those who don't want to play. If you do want to play, create your own rules and standards and don't deviate. That's winning in and of itself. I agree. That's a really good way of putting it. If you want to play, create your own rules and standards and don't deviate. Don't rationally deviate. A lot of times we need to, I've deviated a lot where I kept repeating the same mantras that seemed ostensibly true, but they just didn't work for me. Or they worked in one way, but I didn't win the game I thought I would win using that dictum. Tristan says of the last video, should you marry a woman who keeps walking out on you? He says, this was how my last relationship ended. There was nothing I could do. I was in an impossible situation in the relationship and with my degree. So you were doing your degree while you were in a relationship. This happened to me twice. While you were doing your degree, you had 2 relationships where this happened. He said, each time resulting in the implosion of my hard-earned progress, cognitively crippled each time. It is not easy to forget this. As I rebuild myself each step forward, I re-experience the pain. Still to this day, my mind is a blur. Yeah, a lot of guys get PTSD and trauma from this stuff, like a vet coming back from Nam. And Jay responded to Tristan under his comment. I encourage you guys to read it under this video, the latest one. Jay said, let it harden you. And he says, I don't mean to become hard-hearted, but respectfully, as a guy who has been there, toughen up. Have a crippling response to a girl leaving, as I have had in the past, is an indication that your priorities are off, which is an indication that you have neediness for a woman, probably because your father was not around and or your mother did not give you what you wanted or needed. Brilliant comment. That I should have immortalized on the screen, because that was a really great response, Jay. These are the kind of conversations I really encourage us guys to have, and especially you older guys who have been there, done that. It's one reason that I really didn't like in the old MGTOW manosphere. The moment I wanted to talk to a married guy or someone who's been there, done that, slowly I noticed creeping in these guys shaming other men. Like, what are you talking to him for, human? He's made a mistake. What are you talking to him for? It's like, so you can only talk to perfect guys? You can only talk to a guy who's ultra successful? It's like, don't you want to learn? You're going to hear it from the horse's mouth. This guy who's married, he's agreeing with us and he wants to share his experience from the front line, and you don't want to talk to him. I really dislike the amount of irrational shame going on. It's just emotional shame going on in the male space. They complain about women, but a lot of guys in the male space, they shame other men like the women they complain about. David P., he says, depending on circumstances, I may let her come back once. If she leaves a second time, she can find her stuff on the front porch. And I said, I agree, depending on what it was that caused her to leave. If she wants to come back and she shows humility and she can apologize and eat humble pie, and it's rational humble pie, it's not an excuse, it's not a cop-out, then obviously second chances apply, or might apply, depending on if your dictum and if your ethics allow you to have second chances. You might say one strike and you're out. But a lot of that kind of talk is bravado amongst the guys, because a lot of guys, when they're in love and they're going through the back and forth and the breakup is heartbreaking, they feel a lot, they're not cold slabs of granite. Some guys are, but a guy that can just drop a woman because of one moment without conversation, without knowing why, without knowing whether she's remorseful or she can see why. I kind of raise an eyebrow to guys that are so macho that they say, yeah, she was the mother to my kids. I was going out with her for a few years and she did this, and I don't care if it was a mistake, you're out. I dumped her the next day. I moved my stuff out. I threw her stuff on the lawn. You think, well, okay, you did the right thing, I suppose, but man, that's really cold. Whereas the reality is, if you actually felt something for this person, it's not as easy to do that. Whether or not you do it, it's up to you. But again, let's not lie that we want relationships with a particular woman because she's got a lot of characteristics that help you feel a certain way, including trust. Yes, based on practical things, but you feel a certain way. And the degree to which you can say, well, yeah, I don't care, I'm just going to do that. I don't know. I question it. If you can do it, it may work, but I don't think there's an objective right or wrong. I know the way I'm kind of balanced. I find that I think it's very rationally and mathematically admirable that you can do that without any emotion, because why you're in a relationship has a lot to do with the emotional state it keeps you in and why you like it. The way you can just like sever that. Yeah, I don't know. But your life, up to you. Slavik W says, unfortunately, right after the argument, she came back. Again, did she apologize? Were you able to talk through it? You guys need to make the choices, guys. We can talk about this, and this is why these conversations are good. This is why, the information online is great, but you have to chew on it and spit out your own ethics that you're proud to live by and you try your best to live by. But if it's only talk, if you're only entertained by this manosphere content and you don't speak it, you don't think it important enough to use out there in real life, then you're just going to get the same mistakes happening over and over again. Sluggo says, this was a long comment. He says, I had this friendship and good conversation in my old 6-year long-term relationship. She bounced during the pandemic and I'm still scratching my head 2 years later. Most of the red pill advice out there is to prioritize fun and avoid having these deeper conversations because aspects of the conversation will give the feeling that you're overcommitted or boring. Yeah. Reaching too hard for her approval and it's not exciting enough. That it sends poor signals within the framework whereby women calculate their relationship satisfaction. So my new relationship is relatively superficial. And I'm running it as a sort of experiment to see if the advice I've read on this point is legitimate. She's far more attractive than my ex, but very boring. I repeat that, guys, very boring. You jump through these pickup line dating, the advice today with women, your life with her is boring beyond this and money and cars. You are entertaining yourself with the structure of a relationship that everyone else can validate for you, but you can't. He continues. And I just set a timer to listen to her stuff, then move on and get work done. We don't even watch movies together. I've never opened up about the trials and tribulations I faced early in life, setbacks or traumatic situations. Only perhaps a few aspects of these struggles that are entertaining and fun. There's no room with this one for deep existential analysis. So far, our dynamics seems a lot more like stable, even if, or perhaps because, I'm less invested in what we've built together. So it does seem to be a far more functional dynamic, at least so far. I think I still wish that wasn't the case. Yeah, what do you want? Who cares if it works? But it's kind of like, this'll do. And it's not unrealistic. What's unrealistic about a kind person you can talk to? I swear, standards of human beings, and especially women, they can't even talk. Most people can't even speak or form a sentence. Anyway, he continues. I think I still wish this wasn't the case, and perhaps that's what draws me to your channel in particular. You seem to be chasing the dream of having the kind of relationship that most red pill creators have written off as impossible, and I hope that you can somehow figure that out. Thank you, Sluggo. I do at the moment. I've got a pretty good woman. I say thanks for the considered reply. I pondered the same thing as you a while back, but I found myself wanting to be away from the hot, empty bimbo as soon as the limited fun was had with them. I found myself manufacturing conversations like I was treading water just to stay afloat. And I couldn't pretend I wasn't kicking my arms and legs just to be in the relationship with them, just to stay afloat. So I came to the truth, for me, that I need interesting conversation. I need to express myself. I need to engage with reality through conversation, like knowing who she is, not just the fictionalized, distant version. Perhaps not to the level that I have with some guys, philosophically maybe, because there's certain conversations you have with guys that you just can't have with girls. And you can't sort of be looking for them for the rest of your life. Like, it's just, the chances are so small. but at least to be able to share with someone through conversation. That's what I need. And I know I need that because I'm honest with myself. And it's not unicorn. Like, if to you, having a woman that you can actually talk to, maybe not to the depths or to the breadth of the way I might write or talk to some very high IQ academic philosophical people, but come on, man. Are you placing the bar so high with a woman that they do become unicorns? So I stopped looking and was only, for me, I stopped looking and I was only open to relationships where she possessed more than just the superficial that most girls can offer. It's really easy. Most girls can put on makeup, clothes, as long as they're not like morbidly fat or not unhealthy, or they don't look weird or like obscenely ugly or something. Everyone's got types. But as long as they're in this very, very broad middle range of where I can find women attractive, I need more than that. I mean, more than like the window dressing. Otherwise, I can't spend, I need to spend much more time away from it. And in which case, like, I can't have a relationship. I can have a friends with benefits. I can have a part-time one, but I cannot have a consistent full-time relationship which is what I want, because I don't find relationships and, dating and women and hooking up with random strangers. I don't have the time or I don't find them important. I've got better things to do than give random women my time that haven't earned it. Like, I'd rather have one in place that's earned it and it's like, done, we've got each other. It all comes down to what are your real non-negotiable standards, gentlemen? I mean, really, what are your non-negotiable standards? Not the glib, all women are the same, she never loves you, blah, blah. I don't care anymore. I really don't care. I made videos in the past where I thought that was true, but it is true to a certain degree and it's true at certain times. But if you want to go your way, like, start going your way. And it starts kind of like, as was said before, who said it? I think it was winning your game. Yeah, playing on your own terms. Berg Carly says, play on your own terms, not don't play at all. Too many guys are giving up. So, LatQCD said, if you're not sure if you should marry a woman, you absolutely shouldn't. You can't afford to get it wrong. Exactly. If you're not sure, if you're asking me, should I marry her? Should she move in? Should I have kids with her? Any huge life choice that is the biggest sort of careful decision you need to kind of make, and it's a subjective choice based on both objective reason and your ability to trust yourself with this person. If you're not sure, don't. Absolutely. If I'm going to give you advice, don't do it. If you're asking me, don't do it. But I'm not saying you shouldn't do it at all. Because you can hear guys that are like, no matter what, I'm going to start this business and I'm going to be better than everyone else because I've got the skills. I know what to do. Or I'm going to marry this woman because I want kids, and I can tell the guy's logical, grounded. He's got a really good belief structure, and he's not delusional. Those people have the greatest chances of success. Too many guys are looking for a perfect outcome with something that requires courage and some degree of risk. Which I think the sayings like the only way to win is not to play, and don't get married, don't have kids, don't do this, don't do that. It's like, yeah, it's complete safety. But with a guy that he wants to have kids and nothing else comes close to what he feels like is why he's here, what he wants to do. If you're going to say, yeah, live in plan B or C of your life, and we're going to shame you from pursuing plan A, that's pretty selfish. If you're reasonable, you'll say, well, I wouldn't, but do what you want, but just consider this and this. Here is the information. Make sure you got your eyes open, and I wish you well. Anyway. Any final questions, guys? Jack says, non-negotiables are a dastardly thought exercise, especially when you're trying to narrow it down as much as possible. All right, guys. If there's any last super chats or questions to me, throw them in now. We're reaching the end of the stream. We've been going for like an hour and 40 minutes. Jeez, I can talk a lot. I feel sorry for my woman at times. Sorry, it's who I am. So any last questions? 3 bright emoji, 3 yellow circles in front of your questions, or super chat me and we'll wrap the stream up, guys. I dislike the personality of most people I came across who were on weed or mushrooms. A bunch of boring people, most of them. Yeah. If I found that out, it wouldn't even get me to a date. Emmanuel says, if there's a value in people being realistically cynical towards how they might have done wrong in a relationship, bad relationships can't always be only one person's fault. That's right. It may objectively be mostly one person's fault, but you're not an angel. It's kind of like a 5-year-old attitude wanting to run towards mummy and hug her or daddy and say, like, protect me. I have a friend who's plugged into the Matrix and on track to getting burnt by his woman. Scenarios you and Paul Protus have covered. How can you get through to him before it's too late? All you can do is talk to him, be a good friend. Don't attack him. Don't make him feel bad, but just kind of have these conversations where there are live and let live, but say your piece, tell him where to be careful, and just let him know, look, it's your choice, but blah, 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 blah. So I think a good friend needs to warn their friend and tell them what they think, but you need to use tact and you can't be an a-hole about it as well. Don't be impolite. Donna says, is it raining in your suburb? Do I need to close my windows? No, here it's fine. Sunny, a few spotted clouds, but no, it's a beautiful day. It's kind of like, in terms of blue sky, compared to clouds, I think it's kind of like blue sky to clouds. It's about 70-30. So it's mostly blue skies, Donna. Emmanuel, have you any music suggestions of songs that slap? Ooh, in terms of EDM, are you talking? Yeah, look up online. I like this one. Two EDM tracks that I really listen to a lot when I want to sort of when I'm running or I want to get energized. Dead Mouse's Coasted, the full length version, and also Daniel Deluxe, his song called Infiltrator. So those two. Daniel Deluxe, Infiltrator, Dead Mouse, Coasted, full length. Have a listen to those. That's kind of generally my style of EDM. Thank you for the compliments. Any last questions? And I'll say goodbye, guys. Thanks for joining the stream. I always aim for like 40 minutes, no more an hour, but the stream's been going really well. And I really like trying out this new app that I've got that lets you just pop up chats without using StreamYard. It's just like an overlay, a Google plugin. Like this, and that, and that. So yeah, it's a really good little app. Yeah, this used to be more true, but the antagonism online, it begs the question now, man. I don't know. I don't even know what MGTOW is now. I certainly don't belong there. So yeah, I just speak as myself. Yes, I should change that. Solitary mission. I agree. I think I've still got the old Discord link. But my gilded link, if you guys want to get together and chat, especially after this, with other people on the stream and on my channel, who are fans of my channel, my YouTube channel, is go to Gilded. That's the old Discord link has been cancelled because it got axed because a few people were acting like idiots, and the link is in my About section. No idea, Dennis. No idea. All right, guys. Any last questions? Let's wrap it up. Thanks for joining me. Those of you who did on a Thursday. I know it's midweek. It's hard for people to sort of follow and be part of a stream during the week. So I appreciate. Look, we still got into the hundreds. But see you on Sunday. I'll try to get back to the regular weekend streams at least, and then maybe I think I want to. I'm enjoying streaming now. You guys get to ask me questions. I get to blab more. I'm not self-conscious because I feel like there's people here I'm talking to. I still, after all these years, I find it very uncomfortable to talk on my own just to the camera lens. But I don't feel like I'm talking to the camera because you guys are here in an ambient sense. You're really actually here. Not really. You're figuratively here because you're interacting with me online. So I find these really comfortable, and I suppose like people enjoy watching and listening to longer streams and podcast types of material. I'm starting to get people, as many people watching my streams as people who just watch my normal videos. So is that the quality of my normal videos are crappier than they used to be? A lot of people would say yes, but anyway, guys, have a great afternoon if you're in Australia, and afternoon and evening in Europe, and enjoy your evening if you're in the US. And I'll catch you soon in the next video and the next stream. Have a good one, guys, and bye.